If it happens, Bud Crawford, oh, absolutely. We'll be there, Stephen A. We'll see Bud Crawford and Canelo. And I want to see that fight. But I would rather see him fight Benavidez. I agree with you.
Landing punches, like just the whole stat. Crawford is leading. And so I do think that it's a tough fight, but I would lean more towards Crawford simply of his, skill set.
That power ain't gonna be able to sustain throughout the fight. Watch.
Shannon Sharpe pulled no punches as he warned Canelo Alvarez of the risks in taking on Terence Crawford. Speaking live, he reminded viewers that although Crawford fights at 147 pounds, he has long trained with bigger men and held his own. Sharpe emphasized that Crawford's move up in weight makes him even more dangerous. His message for Canelo was direct: overlook Crawford and it could turn into a costly mistake.
Great fighters, they're not going to give me my due because I'm going to have 3 or 4 losses. And that's what's happening. Guys won't fight anybody that the fans want to see, or a fighter that's deserving. You're absolutely right. David Benavidez deserved the fight Canelo, but Canelo doesn't want to fight him because he knows there's a greater chance of him losing versus Benavidez versus Bigger Charlo. And so that's what. Now, am I going to go see the if it happens, Bud Crawford? Oh, absolutely. We'll be there, Stephen A. We'll see Bud Crawford and Canelo, and I want to see that fight. But I would rather see him fight Benavidez. I agree with you.
Daniel Jacobs breaks down the skills of both men before sharing his view. He acknowledges Canelo Alvarez's strength and experience, but stresses that Terence Crawford carries a versatile set of weapons that make him dangerous and hard to predict. Jacobs points out that Crawford's ability to shift styles mid-bout unsettles opponents and neutralizes their strengths. Coupled with sharp reflexes and high fight IQ, this could give Canelo real trouble. Jacobs notes that while Canelo has survived power punchers like Gennady Golovkin, handling Crawford's speed, accuracy, and strategy is a very different test. For that reason, Jacobs leans toward Crawford, believing his skill set gives him the advantage.
For instance, when he fought the guy that he lost to just recently.
Bivol,
yeah. Shout out to Bivol. He wasn't really able to find that niche there, but in spurts you can see him adapting, right? And so the biggest difference between Bivol and Crawford is the size difference in the power. Even though Bivol was an ultimate boxer, he still was able to keep him off him with the sheer power and strength. But with Crawford, I think that it'll be challenging for Canelo to get around the skill set, but it wouldn't be challenging for him to be able to endure the pain. And so that's what Canelo, because the mindset too is, if you can't hurt me, no matter what you do, I'm going to keep coming forward. So if Canelo can adapt that mindset, take the shots, because he's going to be throwing, and if you look at the stats too, in terms of punch output, in terms of landing punches, like just the whole stat, Crawford is leading. And so I do think that it's a tough fight, but I would lean more towards Crawford simply of his, skill set.
Is this the biggest fight for his legacy? If obviously he wins, I think.
Crawford.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think it would be the biggest win. But given the fact that a lot of people, I think, expect Canelo to win because of the weight, where do you rank this in comparison to that huge fight with Errol Spence?
So if Canelo wins, it would be one of his most top tier wins. But it would also be expected, so I don't know if it would take the umph off of it, rather the other way around because of the size difference and what all Canelo has been accomplishing for the last however many years,
Oladipo explains that Crawford possesses a rare quality that separates him from others in the sport: the capacity to inflict damage without relying solely on raw power. He argues that Crawford's precision and timing let him land shots opponents don't see coming, which makes them more punishing than expected. For Oladipo, this is exactly why he favors Crawford against Canelo. He suggests that Alvarez, despite his toughness, can be outboxed by fighters who stay disciplined and refuse to brawl. Crawford thrives in this area, always patient until the right chance appears. This mix of intelligence and effectiveness is what convinces Oladipo that Crawford is the likely winner.
He needs to put that pressure on himself. He's done what no one's ever done before. 2-time undisputed world champion. So why not just enjoy? But obviously you want to go for that next challenge. Now for him, he wants to go for that Canelo. I would advise him not to go for that, But if he's the man and he knows how good he is himself. So I can't really say to him that do this or do that. So really,
he believes in his skills. He feels
he believes in his skill. We can't answer for him. Yeah. We let him go and do it. You know what I'm saying? And we all might be wrong. Yeah. He might be even stronger than Canelo. He might pack the weight on well that he might do really well in there. So look,
you fought them both. Like, what are the differences between them? Obviously, it's weight.
Canelo's strong and is easily hit. Very easily hit, very easily. Yeah. Compared to when I fought against Crawford, I couldn't even hit clean. Yeah. So really, that's the difference. And they both hit hard. Yeah. Because and you can see the strength. You know, when I was fighting against Crawford, I didn't think Crawford was that strong, but when he kind of moved me around a little bit, he is very strong as well. So look, yeah. But why does he need to give that much away? He's pound for pound #1 in the world. Why does he have to go up and fight Canelo?
I don't
prove anything.
Canelo would say payday, but Crawford wants to be 3-time undisputed. And if he does that, oh my goodness.
Wow. I mean, that would be unreal. But look, if he believes in himself, yes, go for it. Yeah. But don't do it if he's got second thoughts. If he's got second thoughts, don't do it. If he has to be 100% confident, and listen, I'll even go and help him for that if I have to. Oh, yeah. You know what I mean? Because look, I love Crawford. I think he's a lovely guy because I got to know him when I trained with him away from the boxing ring, away from boxing, and the guy's he's a diamond. You know what I mean? So if I can help him in any way, I'd love to do that. But look, but if I was him, just enjoy what you've got now, and don't take no risks.
I think you just got to watch the Bivol blueprint, the in and out. I mean, a lot of fighters getting stick now for being runners, Tom and Jerry and whatnot. But stick to what you're good at.
Boots Ennis commends Crawford's effectiveness inside the ring, stressing that every punch he throws serves a purpose. Unlike many fighters who waste energy with unnecessary shots, Crawford chooses his moments with calculation. Ennis adds that this shows Crawford's advanced boxing IQ, maximizing both precision and power. By conserving energy and striking smartly, Crawford denies opponents opportunities to counter. This approach also makes him lethal in longer fights, as he keeps stamina while gradually wearing rivals down. Ennis believes this kind of control and accuracy will be crucial against Canelo, where every edge matters against such an experienced fighter.
Terence, though, people don't understand. He can box and he's smart.
Yes.
He don't waste no punches, man.
He don't waste no punches.
And he's really smart, man, when it comes to that boxing game. But it was me and I'm training him.
Yeah.
I would have him frustrating Canelo. What I would do with him, I would hit him with some good shots, combination shots, because you know, Canelo got to be set to throw punches.
That's right. That's right.
You know what I mean? If Crawford boxing move, he don't like nobody in the boxing move, and that's what I think Crawford's going to do. And then
Diego Pacheco gives a fair analysis by recognizing both fighters' possible paths to victory. He explains that Crawford, with his sharp defense and technical skill, is more likely to win rounds over 12 than to stop someone as durable as Canelo. Yet, Pacheco also points out Canelo's devastating power, especially to the body, which always leaves open the chance for a knockout if he lands cleanly. For him, this contrast reflects the clash in styles, Crawford's distance, timing, and combinations versus Canelo's pressure and heavy shots. Ultimately, Pacheco concludes, the result will depend on who manages to control the pace of the fight.
What are your thoughts on that Canelo versus Crawford fight? How do you see that fight going, and what's your prediction?
That's a very, very good fight. You know, two great fighters. I grew up admiring them my whole life, you know, so I'm excited for that fight. I think Crawford is a hell of a fighter. You know, if it goes the distance, he might be able to get that decision win. But I think if there's a knockout, then it might be Canelo who's getting the knockout win. But I'm ready to watch the fight. You know, I'm going to be a big fan that night, and just be rooting for both guys. You know, they're both great fighters.
Aid Oladipo reflects on Canelo's career path, noting that while the Mexican superstar remains elite, he is no longer the same unstoppable figure he once seemed. He recalls the Golovkin rematch in 2018 as the peak version of Alvarez, a night where his power, timing, and confidence looked untouchable. Oladipo stresses that this was 7 years ago, and since then, although Canelo has stayed strong, there have been signs of decline. He suggests that sparring with hungry young fighters like Jaron Boots Ennis may be an attempt to recover sharpness that naturally fades over time. This raises the question of whether today's Canelo is enough to deal with Crawford, who appears to be at his absolute best. Oladipo's view casts doubt on whether experience alone can compensate for the loss of peak athleticism.
But he fought a very, very good Canelo. I don't think that Crawford is fighting the best Canelo anymore. Again, the Canelo I'm talking about, I mean, second Golovkin fight, I thought was fucking incredible. That was... What was that? Jeez, that feels like a long, long time ago. Second Golovkin fight was 2018. So I'm saying peak Canelo, although still very, very good, people, peak Canelo for me was 6 years ago. It's a long time, or 5.5 years. That's a long time. In fact, exactly 15th of September. So it'll be to the day 5 years. Have I got them? What was I talking about? Sorry, almost 7 years ago. Jeez, that's a long time ago. Where some might say peak Crawford was Errol. So, shit, I didn't realize how long ago that was. And he's clearly not that same guy anymore. He clearly isn't. He's no longer fighting elite fighters. I mean, unless you're going to say William Skull was elite, Edgar Berlanga, no, Munguia, no, Jamel, no, John Ryder, no, the third Golovkin fight, no. So he's no longer fighting the best, but he still is very good, and he's still a top 168 pounder. And I think this is why people are saying it is a 50-50 fight now, because we can see the deterioration in Canelo. Like, say what you want about William Skull, Canelo looked poor in that fight as well. Everyone's like, oh, William Skull ran. Well, Canelo didn't cut off the exits. Canelo wasn't great himself. Canelo's punch output was horrendous. So we can clearly see the deterioration. That said, he is the naturally bigger guy. I just mentioned the fact that Crawford's put on size, but the naturally bigger guy in this weight class is Canelo. That has to count for something.
Regis Prograis firmly rejects the belief that Crawford's power will threaten Canelo. He argues that Alvarez has already absorbed shots from naturally larger fighters, including some of boxing's biggest punchers, without showing real weakness. Prograis highlights Canelo's reputation for having one of the toughest chins in the sport, a trait that makes him extremely difficult to hurt. Still, he doesn't count Crawford out. He admits that Crawford's ring IQ, footwork, and adaptability give him a chance to outbox Alvarez. But, he insists, power alone won't be enough. Crawford will need to lean on tactics and precision if he hopes to overcome someone as durable and physically imposing as Canelo.
You know, I think that Crawford has the ability to outbox Canelo. You gotta look at it. And then Canelo's older. Crawford has the ability, but he's small. You know, and he can look bigger Crawford could look bigger in the weigh-ins and all that stuff, but it's always a difference. When you get that fight with somebody, you can tell. Same thing with Jamel. Jamel fought him, the twin. He fought Crawford, and in all the stuff, the weigh-ins and the press conference, Jamel looked like the bigger man. You know, his head, his neck, everything looked bigger. But when they got in the fight, you can tell. You can see who really was the bigger man. And I think that's the same thing. Crawford is putting on weight, but it's not weight. Like Canelo had the weight already. He doesn't have to put on muscle. He doesn't have to do that. He's already big like that. But I think that Crawford does have the style. He does have the style to beat him. If you look at the people that beat him or gave him troubles, Irislan, De Lara, Austin Trout, Floyd, and Bivol, you know, they gave him trouble and stuff like that. And Skull moved around a little bit too. So I think that Crawford has that. But I don't know how Crawford is gonna respond when he gets hit. Same thing with Jamel. Jamel was undisputed at 154, and Canelo hit him and shit. Jamel was like, hell no. Jamel took a knee, you know. So it's a big difference. And Crawford had that one fight at 154, and he didn't, you know, Madrimov would touch him up a little bit. And this is nowhere close to Madrimov. You talk about Canelo. Now if it was just another bigger guy, I would go with Crawford. But you talk about this might be. I mean, people might kill me for it, but well, not really, but this might be the best Mexican fighter ever. One of them, at least, right? You talk about Canelo and Crawford going up against him. So the only thing they have, but I would say the only thing he has going for him is he's a skillful fighter, and Canelo is older.
Crawford's trainer stresses conditioning as the deciding factor in this fight. He warns that if Canelo begins to fade in the later rounds, Crawford will seize the opportunity with his speed and energy. Known for raising his intensity as fights progress, Crawford often overwhelms opponents once they begin to slow. His quickness allows him to counter cleanly and avoid retaliation, punishing even minor lapses in movement or timing. The trainer underscores that against Crawford, losing even a step can be disastrous. For Canelo, it means he must maintain a high pace from start to finish, a tough demand at this stage of his career.
Throughout the fight, watch. And he usually slows down between 6 and 7. You slow down, that's a fucking wrap.
That's what you've been seeing in these last couple fights from him?
I mean, yeah, fuck yeah. I've seen him slow down, going into the later rounds, and I've seen his ass get outboxed.
Brian McIntyre, and I will say this openly, is one of the best trainers in boxing. He absolutely knows his job, and I know he knows his job better than I know his job. So take my observation with a grain of salt. However, sometimes I get these things right, and I think that Brian McIntyre is making a miscalculation. Now, what do I mean? He basically said that one of the biggest advantages that Terence Crawford has over Canelo Alvarez is that Canelo Alvarez slows down, and that he says that after round 6, round 7, that Canelo Alvarez usually starts slowing down, and if he slows down against Terence Crawford, that is going to be a very, very huge mistake, and Terence Crawford is going to be able to take advantage of that. All right, first and foremost, let me say this. If it was the case that Terence Crawford was fighting Canelo Alvarez at 147 pounds, or even at 154 pounds, and Canelo Alvarez started slowing down, that definitely could be very, very big trouble against a guy like Terence Crawford, because Terence Crawford is an incredible counterpuncher, and if you show him any openings...
Teddy Atlas delivers one of the strongest endorsements of Crawford's chances. He calls Crawford a complete fighter, disciplined, adaptable, and mentally unshakable, even when facing bigger men. Atlas argues that Canelo no longer fights with the same hunger, claiming that years of success and stardom have dulled his competitive edge. He even labels Canelo overrated when compared to Crawford, pointing to recent performances that show signs of decline. For Atlas, the difference in drive and discipline makes Crawford the clear favorite.
Get mad again, or you could agree again. It's up to you, whatever. But he's made so much money that the urgency's not there, the fire's not there. At least it wasn't there a week ago. At least I'd say that. It wasn't there a week ago. Maybe it'll be there now. Maybe he's the kind of guy that, and I get it, that at this point in their career, it has to be a big fight to get up. That Canelo can't get up for these fights. He couldn't get up for that fight. All right, if you want to go down that road, go ahead. But my road is still possible. That he got old, that it just doesn't have that fire no more. Oh my God, I'm going to say this one. That maybe he's a little overrated. I listen. I know he's tremendous. He's tremendous. But could he be a tiny bit overrated? If you look at some of his biggest fights, the fights where you had to be great to win, that you fought great fighters or near great fighters, you know, you can make the argument that he lost the first Triple G.
Jose Vargas Jr. offers an insider's take, having sparred with Crawford himself. He praises Crawford's precision and sharpness, but questions whether his power will truly trouble someone as tough as Canelo. Vargas notes that Alvarez has already survived punishment from naturally bigger men like Golovkin and Kovalev, proving his durability. Still, Vargas acknowledges that power isn't everything. Crawford's rhythm, timing, and consistency can frustrate even the strongest opponents. While he doubts Crawford's punches will stop Canelo's aggression, he admits that Crawford has the tools to keep the fight close and potentially win on points.
But Crawford, what work is left? What else is going to be done in camp?
You know, all we're doing is putting the final touches. I mean, I've been sparring Ron Ellis. I mean, this guy is a dog, bro. He's been getting me ready. I mean, he's been Canelo's sparring partner. Shout out to my guy Ron, man. He comes, tries to knock me out every single sparring. This guy fights at 68. Big dude, goes southpaw. And hits hard. So I know he fought Benavidez. So you know, he's a veteran, and he's doing veteran tactics in there where he's not letting me rest in the clinch. He's making me work every second of every round. And I got something for Callum. I got something for the whole boxing world. And you know, I feel you're just as good as your preparation. And we've been doing the road work. We've been doing the mountain work. I've been recovering hard. I've been getting my rest. You know, I haven't been drinking no dark sodas, bro.
That wraps up today's video. Thanks for watching, and be sure to stay tuned for more. Until next time.